Hello and welcome to the Culture Swally, a podcast dedicated to Scottish news and pop culture. My name is Nicky and I'm joined as always by the man who always tells animal rights collectors to fuck off. It's Greg. How are you today, buddy?
Yeah, I'm very well. Can I just say for the record that I don't tell animal rights collectors to fuck off? Just in case.
I don't know, I think I've heard that.
In case anybody thinks that's true.
And I think I've just spoiled my best use of swearing award for the end of the podcast as well. But never mind. How are you today?
I'm very well. I'm admiring, people who listen to the podcast regularly will know that Nicky has recently moved house. And I'm just admiring your little sort of reading chair in the background there. Like a little reading nook next to your wrestling paraphernalia.
I have always wanted that chair. Not always wanted, but for years I have wanted this chair. And it's an IKEA chair. It's an IKEA reading chair, and I've wanted it for a long time. And recently moved house, and I thought, right, I'm going to buy this chair. And it has an accompanying footstool as well.
Very
but
nice.
The it's like, for the chair and the footstool, it's like €300. And I'm like, it's a bit much. Like, you know what? I've just moved house. I've just had to pay for a lot of new furniture and stuff. I'll leave it for a minute. And then one night I was sat on Marktplaats, which is like it's almost like Facebook Marketplace for the Netherlands type thing, or like a Dubizzle for Dubai type thing. And here was someone selling a footstool and chair, and they wanted €120 for it. So I put in a cheeky offer of €80, and they came back and said, I'll do 100. And I was like, okay. Went to see it, and it is literally just immaculate, like brand new. So yeah, got it for a third of the price. Just chucked it in the back of a car and took it round. And I love it. Yeah, I love sitting in my little reading chair.
Very nice. You're like a real grown-up.
Yeah. I am, proper grown-up. It's only taken me 42 years. Well, be 43 next month. But yeah, it's taken me that long, but I'm a proper grown-up now.
Yeah, very good. I've been doing a bit of air travel. This week I was on the budget airline, what's it called? Al Jazeera. Not to be confused with the pro-Iran Qatar news network. This is a budget airline, and I'm sure it has to be when you live in the Middle East, you're a little bit spoiled, because generally if I fly anywhere, I'm flying with like a major carrier. So even even economy is like, it's fine, it's comfortable. Your KLMs, your Emirates, your British Airways. But this Al Jazeera, there must be human rights violations being committed at this plane. I'm telling you now, you don't even get a bit of water, and it was literally like catching the bus. It was just horrendous. So this is a warning to all to avoid Al Jazeera Airlines. It almost turned me into a right old racist, put it that way. But fortunately, I too am a grown-up and managed to control my emotions.
I hope you don't have to fly with them anytime soon, now that you've just called them out on the podcast and criticised them. So, because maybe in future you might get a glass of water that someone's pissed in.
Yeah, well, they don't even bring you anything. Like, you've literally got to buy everything, not even like a wee glass of water. Yeah, that would be the ultimate insult. I've got to buy. I've got a drink of water. I've got to buy it, and somebody's pissed in it because I've roasted them on a podcast.
I have it's just something that cropped up in the last week. A story to tell you, and I genuinely can't believe this, and I'm amazed. So I met someone a couple of weeks ago and was speaking to them, and she is English. She's 37, so she's, lived a little bit. Left England in 2004, she lived in Barcelona since then, and she lived in Amsterdam for the last, 10 years or so. And she says I am the first Scottish person she's ever met.
What? Really?
How's that possible? How is that possible?
I've got no idea. I mean, so she left England in 2004, and she went to Barcelona.
Yeah,
and she
lived there for 12 years, and then she's been in Amsterdam ever since, Right. And I'm the first Scottish person she's ever met.
Have you ran into any fellow travellers in Amsterdam in the 5 years or so you lived there?
Yeah, of course. Run to them all the time. We went to the pub and ended up meeting a random
Scottish barmaid.
Barmaid, and then an Irish guy sat at the bar. It's not exactly uncommon. Run into Scottish people all the time. I went to a toy fair a few months ago, and there was a guy that used to live in Hazelhead that I started speaking to, which is where I was from in Aberdeen. It's not uncommon to bump into people like we get around quite a bit. I mean, have I just been spoiled because obviously I lived in Aberdeen and lived in Dubai for 12 years, and of course, I mean, Dubai is just basically a mini Aberdeen in some ways because there's so many Aberdonians there. But I just find it so random, like to have never met a Scottish person. It's bizarre.
It is bizarre. I mean, that is weird. Well, you know, you have to remember now that you're representing your country, and what she thinks about Scotland will be based on what she thinks of you. So no pressure. So, you know, I met I was out in the pub last Friday, and I ran into two fellows from Stonehaven.
Oh wow! Did they do the fireball?
No, thankfully not. Although, well, they might have done after I left because it could quite possibly have been in the post, to be quite honest. But they were a bit older than me, and as you know, I'm a fan of Fred Perry polos. You know,
yes.
And I was wearing one. So I was in the toilet having a piss, and don't know why I had to add that little detail in, but anyway,
might have been having a line.
Not in Dubai. There was an English fella at the urinal next to me, and he said, "Oh, Fred Perry." I was like, "Yeah." I said, "I like Fred Perry stuff." He said, "Oh, you're Scottish." I said, "I am." He said, "I'm at a table with two Scottish guys, and they're both wearing Fred Perry shirts." I was like, "Really?" So, you know, so we walked back into the bar together, and sure enough, here's these two guys in Fred Perry shirts. So I say hello to them, and it turns out they're from Stonehaven. So we get chatting, and I end up sitting with them for about 10-15 minutes. Quite a lot of lies being told, I think.
In what way?
So I was saying that I thought Stonehaven was a really nice town. You know, and I was talking about the time that I spent in Aberdeen and blah, blah, blah. And the first guy said to me, but you're not from Aberdeen. I said, no, I'm from Glasgow. And he said, so which team do you support? And I said, I don't...
For fuck's sake.
I said, I don't support either team. I said, if I'm being honest, I said, I don't really follow a team, but if I've got a team in the SPL that I like to see win, it would be Aberdeen because I lived there for quite a long time. Like, my best pal's an Aberdeen fan, so I like to see the Dons win. And he said, I'm a Rangers fan. I was like, what? He said, yeah, I can't remember why he's a Rangers fan. There was a tale to tell. But his pal, who was sitting next to him, is an Aberdeen fan. So anyway, I started talking to his pal, and we're talking about clothes. And I said, I really like the book Bloody Casuals by Jay Allen about, you know, the Aberdeen trendies in the early 80s and all that sort of stuff. Great book. Yeah, it's a fantastic book. And so then the story starts, which can't be true, but the Rangers boy reckoned that the trendies were in a bar in Stonehaven one night, and him and his pals got into like a tear-up with him, and he reckoned that he bottled Jay Allen. He said, and he's like, it's in his book. He mentions getting bottled in a bar in Stonehaven in his book, and that was me. And it's been so long since I read the book that I can't really remember a detail like that. And I've read the book a few times, as I know you have, but I can't remember a detail. It's been a long time. I'm not even sure where my copy is, to be honest. So yeah, and then that led to some more tales about like adventures abroad and all this kind of thing, and I just thought, I'm going to excuse myself from this and return to my companions. But yeah, you know, where you can just tell that someone's talking absolute shit.
Yeah. I was looking through my book chest the other day, because I have all my books in a chest, and I came across Bloody Casuals, and I did think to myself, I need to reread that.
Yeah.
So I might bump it up my list and reread it, and I'll let you know if there is a story about a bottling in Stonehaven.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I all my books were in the loft in our house in Glasgow, and when I was back there in the summer, I noticed that at least one box of my books has been stolen by tenants, along with some other things.
But the lager company.
Yeah, big tenants, bastards. They don't make enough fucking money. We've had a few tenants in there over the years, and somebody has fucking stolen a box of my books. And there's a few that I'm missing, but the ones that I'm really upset about is I paid quite a lot of money for some hardback collections of Tales from the Crypt. The old 1950s EC comic. I fucking love them. So I had 3 or 4 volumes of Tales from the Crypt. I had a few Vault of Horrors, a few Weird Sciences, and they're fucking gone. And they were £25 a volume. Like this was back in about 2008 8, 2009, so fucking really upset about it. Fucking cunt.
Shocking. Bastards. Yeah. Never mind. Well,
anyway.
Hope they get what's coming to them.
So do
maybe they'll get fireballed, or maybe they get bottled in a Barnstone Haven by an angry Rangers fan. That'll serve them right.
In the 1980s,
yeah. Right, okay. Shall we have a look at what's been happening in Scotland over the last couple of weeks then, Greg?
Cue the jingle.
Hello, this is the Outer Hebrides Broadcasting Corporation, and here is what's been going on in the news.
Okay, Greg, what have you seen in the news over the last couple of weeks that has caught your eye and you'd like to share with me and our lovely listeners?
Well, once again, it's been a bit of a lean week for Swally-centric news. And then I came across one which I think we've had the same sort of story about 100 times over the years we've been doing the pod. It comes from the Daily Record on, when did it come? On Thursday, the 25th of January. Drunk shocks Chippy staff with sausage supper after they're pulling down his pants in the chip shop. This is Craig Patterson, aged 40. There's a photograph of him. I mean, I've got nearly 6 years on Craig, and he looks like he's got fucking 30 years on me. He exposed himself at the Chippy Takeaway in West Lothian in May of 2022. An 18-year-old girl and a 51-year-old man who had been drinking with Craig in the Bluebell Inn in West Lothian saw him standing outside a nearby newsagent's. He asked them to wait for him while they ordered food from a nearby takeaway food shop called The Chippy. Knowing he was heavily under the influence of alcohol, they decided to keep an eye on him to make sure he got home safely. However, when the man and woman went into the shop to hurry the accused along, he suddenly boasted to them that he had an 8-inch dick and massive balls. He added that if the man gave him £50, he'd get them out, Livingston Sheriff Court was told. His drinking companion jokingly told him, "Go on then," and Patterson promptly unzipped his jeans, dropped his trousers and underwear, and exposed his penis and testicles to them. He and the teenager told Patterson to put his genitals away, and the accused did as he was ordered. All three then went back to the Bluebell Inn on Main Street in West Calder, where Patterson ate the food that he bought. I can't imagine the pub being over the moon about someone bringing their own chippy in.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. That's the most unbelievable part of the story for me so far.
Yeah. So Patterson of Stuartfield Crescent, Broxton, West Lothian, in case anybody wants to go in Chappie's door, appeared for sentencing Thursday after earlier pleading guilty to intentionally exposing his genitals in a sexual manner with the intention that the witnesses would see them in May 2022. His not guilty pleas to sexually assaulting the teenage girl in the pub by stroking her legs and making indecent sexual comments towards her and to others were accepted by the Crown. So he's just a flasher, not a sex case. Charlie Morrison, defending, said Patterson was not subject to the notification requirements commonly known as the Sex Offenders Register, because a court had ruled that the remaining charge of getting his balls out did not have a significant sexual element. Well, that's true. He was trying to make a quick 50 quid off his pal.
And 50 quid's a bit much just to ask for getting your balls out. I mean, our friend at Little John's Window, which we've already said is me, used to do that for free all the time. So to charge 50 quid, Christ, I could have made a fortune the amount of times.
Be fucking living in the lap of luxury if we're paying you every time you get your balls out. Morrison added that Craig was in what's his name again? Craig was in homeless accommodation at the time. He doesn't remember what happened, but he says the matter has been a wake-up call for him. The sheriff, Susan Craig, sentenced Patterson to carry out 160 hours of unpaid work in the community within 6 months. She says she told him, "This was a clearly ridiculous incident and you're absolutely right to be ashamed of yourself. That was appalling behaviour and must have been shocking for those in the chip shop where you behaved in that way." I mean, look, it's... Times have changed quite a lot, I think, because I have seen some absolute spectacles in the wee hours of the morning queuing for a curry or a kebab as a young man. And I don't remember anybody getting arrested.
No, I was just about to say some of the sights I've seen in a chip shop at 2 a.m. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about 20 odd years ago, Greg, when we were doing that. But yeah, I've seen some sights in chip shops. I've seen many a boob in a chip shop.
Oh, yeah,
of ladies flashing their boobs to get extra chips or something, or to get to the front of the queue, or I've seen many people getting fishy fingers in a chip shop, but not of the over-the-counter variety. Yeah, we've seen many sights. I mean, for God's sake, I mean, I always go back to the pie shop on Chapel Street, and we used to always ask the guy if he was really a master baker and stuff. And yeah, you used to see some sights in there, but it's all about drunken fun, wasn't it? Yeah, times have changed now, but 50 quid I think is extortionate just to get your balls out.
Yeah, I still can't quite believe that night. I can see your cock in my mind's eye, still pressed against the glass. Again, right on the other side of the window where people eating their dinners.
I mean, in my defense, I think I'd had a bottle of like Sainsbury's vodka, which was fucking like paint stripper. And I mean, I must have only been like, what, 21?
Yeah, so maybe even a wee bit younger.
Over half my life ago. Yeah, you know what? I don't regret it, but I don't condone it. Yeah. Like, it happened. It's what happened. And yeah. And as you said, I think you said in a previous episode, there was many times that we'd be in a nightclub and we'd be dancing. I would just tap you on the shoulder and point down and have my cock out.
I know, like, You Can't Touch This by MC Hammer would come on. And that would be Nicky's cue to draw my attention to the cock hanging.
I can promise I've not done that for many a time. But there was a period of time I specifically remember, actually. Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm going to regret saying this so much. I might cut this out. I don't know. It was around about 2002. It was when I was just leaving uni. And Jackass was a very, obviously, big show.
Yeah, it was huge.
And it was huge at that time. And it became kind of a joke amongst my uni friends. They would start humming the Party Boy song, and I would start stripping off. And I have a photo of me actually in the middle of Bonaccord Street in Aberdeen wearing an Indian headdress, like not a proper full one, like a party shop Indian headdress with my shirt open and my trousers on my ankles, dancing to the Party Boy theme that my friends were humming. Oh, fuck. Yeah, I might cut that out.
I mean...
Anyway.
I don't think that's worse than pressing your cock up against the glass of a busy restaurant on a Friday night, to be quite honest.
Yeah, that's probably true, actually. Yeah, that was just a bit of hijinks, whereas, pressed my cock against the glass might have offended a few diners, especially if they were vegetarian. But that wasn't that common back then, so never mind. Anyway, right, let's move on. Fuck's sake, I'm going to really struggle editing this episode now. Okay, so what is happening to our sausage supper hero?
160 hours of unpaid work that he's got to complete within 6 months.
I mean, surely if a judge was having a laugh, should just find him 50 quid and say that's the 50 quid you got for getting your cock out. That's what I would have done.
I hope he's still got that money. Yeah, anyway. Hopefully he's learnt his lesson. He doesn't remember any of it. Maybe he had a couple of bottles of Sainsbury's vodka as well before he went to the shipping. Anyway, that's my first story. What's your first story this week?
My first story this week, Greg, is about, I was going to say an old friend of the podcast. He's not really a friend, but we did cover his story back on episode 49 of The Culture Swally, A Sense of Freedom, available wherever you get your podcasts. So this is about Jimmy Boyle, the gangster turned artist, who has helped a latest Scots word be added to the dictionary. Now, I'm quite fascinated by this because recently we kind of both got a same TV package. Maybe I should mention that, don't know. And I kind of am making a point of like, I've been booking like phantom meetings from 3 to 4 p.m. every day because I've been watching Countdown. Yeah. I'm kind of like addicted to it again. So, but this is from Glasgow Live this week. So, convicted murderer turned artist Jimmy Boyle has helped get the Scottish word deafy, meaning to ignore someone, into the Oxford English Dictionary. A new meaning for deafy has been included in the dictionary to reflect it being a Scots slang term. Boyle has been honoured with a mention in the latest edition of the dictionary after being credited with helping to popularise the term, which can also be spelled deafy. Now, that means nothing, so I should actually confirm the new word is deafy, D-E-A-F-I-E, whereas the other term is D-E-A-F-Y. So, the dictionary researchers found that one of the earliest printed mentions of this word was in the 79-year-old's 1984 prison diaries book, Pain of Confinement, which chronicled his time in Glasgow's Barlinnie. A passage in the book reads, "Larry is really down at the moment. I spoke to him, but he slung me a deafy." The official entry for deafy in the dictionary reads, "Scottish, an act of ignoring a person, especially into sling, also throw a person, and deafy, to ignore something that a person is saying, to fail deliberately to respond, or to engage with someone or something." The dictionary also cited a recent mention of the phrase in a Twitter post to show that it is still common use among Scots. Commenting on Scottish politics, a man from Glasgow posted, "The party that's been listening to this electorate is definitely throwing a deafy." The dictionary said that the word deafy has in the past also been used as an offensive term for a deaf person. However, it is noted that deaf people had sought to reclaim the word in recent times by using it to refer to themselves, which I think is really nice. I think that's a really good term. I take it back. Take it back. Mm-hmm. The entry stated, although originally depreciative and still likely to cause offence, deafy has increasingly been used frequently with a capital initial as a neutral or positive self-designation. Boyle, once dubbed Scotland's most violent man, was brought up in Glasgow Gorbals area and was jailed for the murder of fellow gangster Willie Babs Rooney in 1967. He turned to art while serving his sentence and became a famed sculptor and author upon his release of prison in 1980. His first memoir, A Sense of Freedom, was published in 1977 and later turned into a film as the same name, starring Scots actor and Cosmo sofa warrior David Heyman as Boyle. And yeah, we covered that in I think episode, I can't remember, it was 64, I think I said, of the Swally. So if you want to go back and listen to that, and if you want to watch A Sense of Freedom, highly recommend it. It was an incredible film. But yeah, there we go. Jimmy Boyle getting a credit for adding a word to the Oxford English Dictionary.
I mean, it's a real Glasgow expression, I think, throwing somebody a deafy. Yeah, I mean, I've heard, some of my young nieces and nephews using the word. It's quite funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar with it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a right west of Scotland term, I think. It's there's deafy, there's empty. I've got an empty. My mum and
no, empty.
So-and-so's got an empty. Let's go around and piss in the fish tank and drink all our dad's booze. But yeah, like a deafy. So in the Oxford Dictionary,
it's in the Oxford English Dictionary, deafy. So it's now a legitimate word on Countdown.
Right. I don't know how I feel about a word like deafy being, because I always think I think words like that I think of as slang. To sort of legitimise them by putting them in a dictionary, they sort of lose their impact a bit.
Yeah, but you get a lot of slang terms in a dictionary nowadays. I think they're constantly adding words, and that's all you get nowadays, really. The only words that we add to our vocabulary are slang terms or text kind of, I'm sure LOL is probably in the dictionary.
Well, it's an abbreviation, though, LOL, isn't it? It shouldn't be in the dictionary.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. So maybe it's not. All right, I can't think of an example right now, but I'm sure there are other terms that have been spawned that are in the dictionary.
But do you think, if you look up the word empty in the dictionary, it says, 1, whatever the definition of empty would be, 2, somebody's got a mum and dad are away for the night. Maybe.
You know what? When you're telling us our next news story, I'm going to look that up in the online dictionary and see if there's a reference to that. Anyway, congratulations to Jimmy Boyle. So, good luck. And that's obviously he has got a lasting legacy in terms of obviously his crimes, but as an artist and an author, and his film will be there forever. And now he's in the dictionary.
I read one of his books years and years and years ago. I can't remember what it's called, but it's about a criminal with learning difficulties and getting out of jail and going to the halfway house and readjusting. I seem to recall it was quite a good book, but I can't remember the name.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know that either. Okay, just to get ahead. Empty, Oxford English Dictionary definition. With no people or things inside.
No people or things outside.
With no meaning, not meaning what is said, is the second definition. A person or person's life unhappy because life does not seem to have a purpose, usually after something sad has happened. That's, feeling empty. And then empty of something without a quality that you would expect to be there, words that were of empty meaning. There's no reference to someone's parents being away. So having to tear up and doing like a Glasgow version of Project X. I would fucking love it. Please, actually, you know what? Let's write a fucking Glasgow version of Project X. And get that made, and we'll cover it in the Swally. So I'd fucking love to see that. That'd be amazing. Yeah,
Kevin Bridges has got a really good bit in one of his early stand-ups about going to an empty when he was younger. It's really funny. So it's definitely worth watching. I'm disappointed that Deafy has made the Oxford Dictionary, but that version of empty that definition of empty hasn't been added.
Well, if you write to the good people at the Oxford English Dictionary, maybe they'll rectify that in the next edition, Greg.
I'll just write to Jimmy Boyle. He seems to have a bit of sway over there.
Yeah, but I don't think he had the first use of the term empty, did he? So we'd have to find out where the first use of using empty in that way came from. And then we could use it. Anyway, what else have you seen this week, Greg?
Well, my next one is a political story. Now, it comes from the Scottish Sun. Everybody knows that the Sun is a Tory wankrag. So it's about the SNP, specifically Nicola Sturgeon. So, they're kind of going for her a little bit. But the headline reads, Petty and Childish, Nicola Sturgeon and top aide labelled Mean Girls. And there's the Mean Girls logo is behind a picture of Sturgeon and her aide. After they called Boris Johnson a fucking clown in sweary messages. Nicola Sturgeon and her top aide were last night accused of acting like mean girls in sweary messages where they slagged off Boris Johnson and plotted a bust-up with Number 10. A senior Tory also branded the former First Minister and then Chief of Staff Liz Lloyd petty and childish after their WhatsApp chats were published at the UK COVID inquiry. They included Ms Sturgeon, calling the ex-PM a fucking clown for announcing a second lockdown for England on a Saturday night. And Ms Lloyd said she wanted to set up a good old-fashioned rammy with the UK government over furlough so she could think about something other than sick people. The former SNP leader then replied, yeah, I get it. Last night, Scottish Conservatives Deputy Leader Megan Gallagher said the extracts from their online pandemic chats showed the pair acting like Regina George and the Plastics in Mean Girls. Does it? I don't think it does. She was referring to the US High School movie, which was remade this year, but I think it's been remade as a musical. I don't think it's I think it's the musical that's going to be turned into a film, not the original Lindsay Lohan movie. She was referring to the US High School movie, which features a bitchy Queen Bee and her clique of fawning cronies. Miss Gallagher added, it's pathetic and shameful that as the death toll mounted, because of your fucking party, Megan, their focus was on picking fights with the UK government. It wasn't just petty and childish, it was disgusting. The SNP's blast came after the hearing in Edinburgh was shown behind the scenes online chats, between Ms Sturgeon and Ms Lloyd, including them mulling over what to do about pandemic restrictions. In one of their conversations from Saturday, October the 31st, 2020, Ms Sturgeon branded the UK government's handling of a second lockdown as fucking excruciating. It came as Mr Johnson made the announcement for England only in a primetime telly statement. A WhatsApp text from Ms Lloyd to Ms Sturgeon at 6:40pm that night said, hitting the 15 minutes between the rugby and Strictly to lock the country up. Let us never do it like this. Raging at the PM, Ms Sturgeon added, his utter incompetence in every sense is now offending me on behalf of politicians everywhere. He is a fucking clown. I'm not going to do the whole article, but Hamza Yusuf, current First Minister, hits back that he rejects the charge in its entirety. He knows the motivation. Every step of the way was to ensure that the people of the country were kept safe. But Janie Godley, she sort of got a little flush of fame during the pandemic, as you probably know, because when she was sort of overdubbing Nicola Sturgeon's sort of pandemic responses. So she she released a video the other day, which maybe we could post a link to on Twitter. And it's her doing Sturgeon, but Sturgeon stood at the podium saying, yeah, we did call Boris Johnson a fucking clown, but we also called him a shit rat, a DOS cunt. No, it's just lists all these like really, really sort of west of Scotland expletives and sort of names for someone. So if you've not seen it, it's definitely worth a few minutes of your time. It really made me chuckle yesterday. So yeah, I guess the post-mortem of the pandemic continues. Everybody looking to point fingers and everything else. I think most people just want to forget all about it and go on with their lives, but it's just one of them, innit? If it wasn't for the pandemic, arguably there might not be a culture swally. So
that's a very good point, actually. Yeah,
every cloud.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, every cloud. Let's be honest. Did she say anything wrong? No, like, you know, I don't think she did.
It's just, I mean, I remember Frankie Boyle describing Boris Johnson as a malevolent honey monster. Years and years and years ago, when I think it was when he was the mayor. He was the mayor of London. Frankie Boyle's got a fantastic turn of phrase when it comes to roasting someone.
I think I've told this on the Swally before, but that is probably, apart from Tony Roper talking about touch the dog's arse, I think it's one of my second favourite moments of Off the Ball was Tam Cowan, quick as a flash, when Pat Nevin was on and he was saying that he was at Gordon Ramsay's restaurant one night and ordered this bottle of wine, and the bottle of wine came and the picture of the woman on the front of the bottle of wine looked exactly like his wife. And he's like, it's just uncanny. And he's like, so I had to buy the bottle of wine and, you know, take it home because the picture just looked so much like my wife. I couldn't believe it. And Tam Cowan, just quick as a flash, goes, I had exactly the same thing happen, but I was in the supermarket in the cereal aisle and it was a box of Sugar Puffs. It's just always stuck with me. Fucking hilarious. But yeah, look, the pandemic obviously still hangs over us. As you say, it was a bit of a wild time and there was a lot of stuff. And there has been a lot of shit kind of slung around recently as these investigations have been going on. And I think there is some sort of murky stuff going on with like deleted WhatsApp messages. But we're not that type of podcast, so we're not going to delve deep into that. We just wanted to talk about the fact that Sturgeon has fucking been abusing Boris Johnson and calling him names. Good on you, Jimmy Cranky. Fucking amazing.
I just like the sort of pathetic reaction of Megan Gallagher. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just because she calls Boris Johnson a fucking clown in one message, she gets compared to like a group of characters in a movie who are essentially school bullies, and you know what I mean, the campaigns against other kids and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, thinks Nicola's going home and writing in her burn book every night about Boris.
Like she's going down to Westminster and fucking taking his dinner money off him and flushing his head down the toilet. I mean, if he is getting his head flushed down the toilet, it might account for that fucking ridiculous haircut that he fucking cuts about with.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is a little bit insane. Yeah, you'd think you would kind of get that sorted, but never mind. It is kind of his look. Yeah, Mr. Whippy.
Mr. Whippy. Malevolent honey monster. I'll never not laugh at that. Anyway, that was my second story this week. What's your
next story is not really a massive news story, and the only reason I'm kind of covering this on the episode is, in fact, there's two reasons. One, it's been a pretty slow couple of weeks for news and funny items. But two, it is quite relevant to what we're going to be talking about after this news story. So this is an article from the Scottish Sun this week, who you've just abused, Greg, so I hope they don't cut us off because we get quite a lot of articles from there. And it is about Peter Capaldi, who we are going to be talking about at length, I think, very shortly. So Peter Capaldi has said that people finally know how to pronounce his surname thanks to his namesake, Lewis. That's not his namesake, Lewis, is it? But I guess it's his surname, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The actor said, "Thank God for Lewis Capaldi, because it has brought an end to years of him having to correct people." Now, this article kind of blew my mind in a way, but is it because we're Scottish? Because I've never not thought, but let me go into a little bit more detail. The Doctor Who and Thick of It star, that's odd, that's the two things they've gone for, rather than soft top, hard shoulder and comfort and joy. No, not comfort and joy.
Local hero.
He was a local hero, that's what I'm thinking of, although he was credited in Comfort and Joy as Ice Cream Advisor. Which we'll cover to you later on. The Doctor Who and Thick of It star stressed that his surname should be said like Pal, like Capaldi, rather than with a pool, like Capaldi. Now, but I that blew my mind reading that. Like, how did some people reference? But then is that more of a Capaldi? I don't know. Like, I read this article and it just kind of blew my mind. Like, why would anyone pronounce it Capaldi? Capaldi, 65, said that chart-topping Lewis also pronounces his surname the same way. Well, I'd hope so. It's the same surname. And inform people how to say it correctly when he appeared on the radio with BBC Two radio host Joe Wiley. Speaking on the Where There's a Will, There's a Wake podcast, Capaldi said, "Capaldi, that's wrong. It's Capaldi. I've had so many palavers about it. I get so exhausted doing it. Thank God for Lewis Capaldi." I got a phone call. I was at dinner one night and it was from Joe Wiley. And she said, "Lewis Capaldi is coming on. Is it Capaldi or Capaldi?" I didn't get the message until after dinner because I was talking. But she went on air and called him Capaldi. And Lewis said, "No, it's Capaldi." And she said, "No, Peter Capaldi said it's Capaldi." It's easy to remember because I'll be your pal if you call me Capaldi. Peter and Lewis are related, with the Doctor Who actor being second cousin to the singer's dad, Mark. So yeah, very interesting in terms of mispronunciation. I don't get that. Capaldi. Why would you ever think it was Capaldi? It's obviously Capaldi.
Yeah, I mean, it's spelled sort of phonetically. Do you know what I mean? It's not difficult to say it. Fucking these English guys. Just
like, my name's not Nicky. Yeah. Well, it is Nicky, but you know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird, but I don't get the Puldi. It's just odd.
I don't know. I mean, I would have thought more of Joe Wiley, to be honest. I've for many years respected Joe Wiley. So I used to like her new music show on Radio 1 back in the day, but and I thought she would have managed to get Capaldi. It's not like Peter Capaldi has just come on the scene anyway. He's been on for fucking years.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because Lewis Capaldi is what we're talking last maybe 5 years that he's been on the scene. But Capaldi, like, the thick of it is probably 15, 16 years old?
Well, it started in 2005, so it's almost 20 years old.
And that was, I mean, he was obviously famous. We're going to talk about that later, Rob, but he was famous before then, but that was probably what kind of massively, shot him into the stratosphere. Yeah. And everyone surely knew it was Peter Capaldi. I mean, God knows how they would pronounce the creator of that show's name, Armando Iannucci. Like, how would they're going to really struggle with that. But again, another famous Scottish Italian. But I wonder if that's why. I never thought about that. I wonder if that's why he has Capaldi, because they're both Scottish Italians.
Yeah, maybe. Well, possibly. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I think Iannucci's from Glasgow. So they probably moved. I imagine they probably moved in the sort of same circles because I think they're sort of peers.
Yeah.
So that's probably why.
But yeah, fucking useless. I mean, And why would you, if you've got Lewis Capaldi coming on your show and you're not sure how to pronounce his surname, why would you phone Peter Capaldi and leave a message rather than when Lewis comes in, just say to Lewis, "Just want to check, Lewis, how do you pronounce your surname? Properly?" Surely that would be a lot simpler.
Well, I mean, if Joe Wiley has got his personal fucking phone number to be able just to ring him up and ask him how to say his name, you would think he should know how to say his fucking name.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. I thought better of Joe Wiley. Always been a big fan, but
it's down there, Joe.
Yeah, sort yourself out, Joe. For fuck's sake.
Yeah,
to get a 2%er. Come on. Shocking.
You'll be on Six Music before you know it, but that sort of thing.
I was thinking about Radio Devon or something. But yeah, you're right. Anyway, so yeah, that is the story of Peter Capaldi, who I think we're going to be talking about at length very shortly. Have you seen anything else in news, Greg?
Nope, that's your lot.
Great. Well, if you've seen anything in the news that you would like us to cover, or if you have anything that you'd like us to cover on the Culture Swally, you can get in touch with us on cultureswally@gmail.com, or follow us on the socials. We're on Insta @CultureSwallyPod, or X, formerly known as Twitter, @SwallyPod. Right, Greg, before we go on to what we're going to be talking about today, let's have a little word from our sponsors. And our sponsor is, of course, Doric Skateboards, a skateboard brand created by Gary Kemp, whose main focus is to explore the people and the culture of Aberdeen and the northeast of Scotland, and to create designs that reflect life in that area. Doric Skateboards screen print their own decks in their studio by Gary's fair hand, and they have produced some amazing designs over the years, including an Annie Lennox-inspired board, a Robert the Bruce deck, and a Plenty of Pop deck inspired by the old Bonaccord trucks that used to drive around Aberdeen delivering fizzy drinks. Doric Skateboards also replicate these amazing designs onto clothing, on 100% organic cotton tees, hoodies, sweatshirts, and you can also fill your boots on stickers, pin badges, beanies, and caps. Gary regularly collaborates with local artists to ensure that he brings the latest designs to the market, but always with a Doric twist, including the Ballater Toy Shop design, inspired by Scotland the What, which we actually need to cover quite soon, Greg. So check out Doric Skateboards for yourself on doricskateboards.com, and you can follow them on Instagram @doricskateboards to see all the amazing designs on offer. And we are delighted to be able to offer you 15% off as listeners to this podcast. All you need to do is head to doricskateboards.com, have a look at all the amazing decks, stickers, badges, hoodies and tees on offer, and enter the promo code SWALLY. That's SWALLY, same as the name of this podcast, and get your 15% off. That's doricskateboards.com, link in the description of this episode.
So, it was your turn to choose our content for this week, Nicky, so why don't you introduce this week's film?
Thank you, Greg. So today we are looking at a listener recommendation, which came from Strong Henry, everyone's favourite Canadian baker. We are covering the 1992 film, directed by Stephen Schwartz and written by and starring Peter Capaldi, Soft Top, Hard Shoulder. Having failed to make it in London as a comic book artist, Gavin Bellini, played by Capaldi, an Italian-Glaswegian from an ice cream dynasty, reluctantly yields to his uncle's demands that he returns home for his dad's 60th birthday party, if he makes it. The uncle, played by Richard Wilson, may give him a share of the family fortune. But as he heads north in his worn-out Triumph convertible, Gavin meets countless obstacles. When the car breaks down, hitchhiker Yvonne, played by Elaine Collins, who is Peter Capaldi's wife, helps to get it going. But Gavin soon tires of her company. Worse, he loses his wallet, and then the progress becomes even slower. Will Gavin reach the party on time? So, you mentioned to me on the last episode, Greg, when I suggested it, that you had never seen Soft Top Hard Shoulder, and I had never seen it until Henry recommended it, but I watched it over Christmas. What did you make of it?
I mean, I had never even heard of this film until we did Local Hero, and I was having a look at Peter Capaldi's IMDb. Because I feel like, is Local Hero the only thing we've done with Peter Capaldi in it up until now, apart from what we're doing?
No, we did, oh God, what was the, Jesus, what's the name of the, with David Morrissey and Ford Kiernan.
Oh,
A Touch of Murder?
Field of Blood.
Field of Blood,
of course,
yes.
Yeah,
we've had Capaldi on Field of Blood, yes.
Okay, we'll have to do the second one of them soon.
Yes.
Yeah, look, you know, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I love Peter Capaldi. I just think he's fantastic. You know, Malcolm Tucker must be one of my favourite characters in anything. I think it's just brilliantly realised character. So it was good to see. I mean, I've not seen a lot of the younger Capaldi on the screen, I don't think, in terms of what I've watched, probably only really Local Hero. So to see him a bit younger and in a film like this, which is, it's a pretty feel-good film. You know, it's like an easy watch. It's not necessarily a particularly original sort of premise, but you know, it's well directed, it's well acted. I think Capaldi is in every scene. Is there any scenes that he's not in? I think he's in every single scene. Oh no, there's one or two scenes when we just see Yvonne for a moment or two. But for the most part, he's in the whole film. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed it. I guess you enjoyed it too?
No, I hated it. No, I loved it. It's just such it's right up my street because it's just kind of a nice, gentle, feel-good film, and it's 90 minutes long, which always helps.
Yep.
What's the fucking 2 hour, 36-minute film last night, and that was quite long. But it kind of makes you feel good, and I like this type of film where nothing really happens, but tells a story, and it's nice, and it's very autobiographical. And I watched an interview with Capaldi, and he said, of course, he's from Scottish-Italian ice cream family descent, and he was indeed a struggling artist when he was younger. So he poured a lot of this, his life into this script. And it shows a lot. And, fair play to Capaldi, he wrote a charming film, which is basically about a character kind of trying to win over a woman in a way, which to a certain extent, he's played by his wife. So he kind of wrote this almost as a love letter to her, potentially trying to woo her. I really enjoyed it. I think, and also the character he plays, Gavin, he's not a particularly likable character, though, is he?
No, he's not. But he sort of sorts himself out, I think, doesn't he? Like, he has an epiphany which gives us like that really nice, affirming ending. He goes on a literal journey, but he also goes on a bit of a spiritual journey in his endeavours to get from London to Glasgow in time for the birthday party and get the money off his uncle. I think he sort of realises that he's the problem, you know what I mean? As opposed to before that, you sort of get the impression that he feels a bit hard done by because he's not able to sell any of his artwork. He's living with he's renting a room in his mate's flat. He's got that ancient Triumph Herald that he's trying to do the journey in, the crazy horse, as he calls it. And she sort of brings him to the realisation that, maybe he's a problem, and maybe if he makes some changes, things will start to work out for him.
I think, and I can, be open about this, I think I maybe saw a little bit of myself in terms of the Capaldi character, because when you meet him in the beginning, he's obviously kind of downtrodden and put upon, and because life's not working out for him.
Yeah.
And things are going to shit, and he's gone to London to try and work as this struggling artist and thinking he's going to make it big, but it's not working out. And summed up in one of the opening scenes when he goes to sell his book to Pumpkin Books, his book about a magic shoe.
Yeah.
Which is very violent. The foot gets cut off, but she boils it, before she eats it, because but they're talking about Miss Prickywinkle, and they want something less perverse. And of course, the aggression comes out when he comes out and tells the animal rights collector to fuck off. And he's eating porridge at home, and you can tell he's really struggling. However, the first glimpse that you think, actually, okay, he's not a bad guy, is when John, effectively his landlord, says, and John seems like a nice guy, kind of, look, I know you can't pay the rent this month, it's fine, but I will need something soon. And Gavin goes and sells his camera and immediately gives the money to John. And you think, okay, he's realised that he needs to do something and fix this. So, rather than just being like, yeah, I'll pay you later or something will turn up and leave it for a month, he does take affirmative action. And is that the right phrase to use, actually? He does take action, though, and sells his camera to get money and pays him. So you do think, okay, he is a goodish guy. He does have the kind of the right morals. But then obviously he meets his uncle Salvatore, and you kind of think he's just in this for the money. But I agree, as the film progresses, he does go on a journey, and he kind of realizes that he needs to maybe open up more. And not let life beat him down, and just live in the moment and just do what's right. And and I think it is a beautiful story. And I think I fell in love with this because I've watched it at the time of my life that I'm going through. That it kind of meant a lot to me. And I really resonated with Gavin in a way, and like the story he went through, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, because of the autobiographical elements that he's put into, I think he's obviously written Gavin as a sort of exaggerated version of himself, or of the person that he was at a time in his life. You know, it's a very intuitive sort of performance. I thought that, I mean, if I was going to be critical of the film, and it's not really a criticism, but it felt like, you know, they've got there's the Chris Rea soundtrack, and it felt a wee bit, you know, like when we did Local Hero, I think we did Restless Natives right after Local Hero, and obviously Local Hero has the big successful Mark Knopfler soundtrack, and then Restless Natives has the Big Country soundtrack, and then this has got a soundtrack by Chris Rea. Not quite as catchy as Big Country and Big Country's music and Restless Natives and Mark Knopfler's music and Local Hero, I thought.
I think you can see, though, the huge influence that Local Hero had on this film in terms of a lot of the comedy is quite similar. And then, of course, I mean, you couldn't get more obvious than having the rabbit in the road at one point and the red phone box isolated on this place. Like it's dripping in kind of Bill Forsyth. And in a way, I did write down in my notes, like, is this just a bit of a cheap Bill Forsyth knockoff? But it's not. I think it's a homage in a way to a tribute to Bill Forsyth. And obviously, a tribute, because Capaldi was obviously influenced by it. And I think it's only natural that at the time this was written and made that he was probably heavily influenced by Bill. And you can't capture Bill Forsyth is a once in a generation kind of film.
For sure.
Like there's no one like him because his films are just incredible. But I can see where it was going, and that's probably why he picked like Chris Rea to do the music, thinking, right, okay, so Bill, got Mark Knopfler, so okay. Let's Chris Rea? That'll work.
It's
I guess it's
a bit of a strange one. I mean, Peter Capaldi is one of those people that I would love to sort of meet and talk to for a bit. I watched them because I watched this film's available on YouTube, and that's where I watched it. Although I will say it's not a great, it's not great,
terrible quality,
not great quality on YouTube. So maybe try and find it elsewhere if you can. But because I'd watched it, I'm now getting lots of Peter Capaldi in my YouTube feed, and there was one from a few years ago. So obviously, famously, he played Doctor Who for a few years, and there's a YouTube channel called, or program series, whatever, called the Doctor Who Fan Show, and he was on that. And famously, Capaldi grew up as a fan of Doctor Who, and I think every now and again, a letter that he wrote to Doctor Who magazine is sort of dug up and discussed. So he's talking about what it means to be a Doctor Who fan. But I didn't realise what a talented artist Peter Capaldi was. And I obviously knew he was a fantastic actor. And I knew that he was also quite an accomplished musician as well. So as he's he talks about the first three Doctor Who's, so William Hartnell, Patrick Troughton and John Pertwee. But as he's talking about them, and he's talking about his memories of watching them on the screen, he draws them. And it's sort of like a kind of sort of caricature sort of style, but and he draws them like really quickly. You know what I mean? It's like when, and it's maybe not a good comparison to make, but when Rolf Harris would draw like Bugs Bunny or something on the page before he introduced the cartoon, I know it's not a great comparison, but it's like that. And he's talking about his memories of watching these guys on the screen, and the drawings are fantastic. I wonder where they are, because, and the thing is, he draws them in pencil. He does like the first four Doctors. I tell a lie. He goes right up to Tom Baker. So he draws them in pencil, and then he goes over them in like black pen. But when he draws Tom Baker, because they're running out of time, he said, "Oh, I'm just going to do it with the marker. I'm not going to do it in pencil. I might regret. I might regret this." He said, but I must have drawn Tom Baker about 1 million times when I was a kid, so I can draw him from memory. It was astonishingly. I had no idea what a good artist he was.
Yeah, I think very talented artist and a singer as well. Mm-hmm. He does have an album.
Yeah.
That I need to listen to. I don't know if it's as good as Lewis, but we'll find out. But at least people know how to pronounce his name. I'm not going to pretend that this is just coming in my head, because I have been just reading his wiki as you were talking there. I was listening, of course. Yeah. But we have covered him in something else as well.
Yeah.
That I totally forgot.
Yeah, the Crow Road.
Rory in the Crow Road.
Yeah.
I think for me, as you mentioned, and we've talked about this before, he will always be Malcolm Tucker. And I think I'll put the clip in, when he rips the absolute arse out of, is it Rory, or the guy
with the ginger hair.
Yeah, when he says he will play Bohemian Rhapsody on his bones. But
he says I'm going to I'll rip your skin off and wear it to your mum's birthday party.
Whilst whistling Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah. Rubbing myself against her leg. Something like that.
I think my favourite, one of my favourite parts though has to be his description of Star Wars.
Yes.
The wee guy he's got a pedal bin and guy covered in gold and all this, like, just absolute genius writing, but Capaldi just plays it so well. And I never watched him in Doctor Who. I'll be honest, I watched Christopher Eccleston and then I kind of phased out of the David Tennant. I think I watched David Tennant's run, but then I stopped watching it when Matt Smith started, and I've never watched it since, apart from the Christmas Day episodes that we were texting about, and then kind of zoned out of that as well. But I might go back and revisit and watch Capaldi as Doctor Who, because I admire him so much as an actor.
Yeah, it's good.
And I have read, in doing research for this, I've read a lot. He's a lot of people's, he's not favourite. David Tennant is pretty much everyone's favourite Doctor Who. I mean, I guess a new generation now. You know, if you'd gone back previous years, I'm sure it would have been Tom Baker or John Pertwee, but there's a lot of love for Capaldi's Doctor, and I think it's because he brought the Capaldiness to it, if that makes sense. Like a kind of downbeaten,
kept his accent,
aggressive,
you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, true.
Crucially, you know.
But just kind of a bit of a, the gallows humour, kind of Scottish bitingness to it. And I think that comes across a lot in the script as well. There's a lot of sarcasm and Scottish kind of feeling in this film, which I think really adds to it and makes it. And there's a lot of obscure humour, which again is very Bill Forsyth-esque, but it works here.
Yes, I mean, I love the wee scene setter at the beginning of the film when he talks about his grandfather coming over from Italy, and he'd meant to go to America, but he ended up in Scotland by mistake, but just pretended he was in America for the rest of his life. It just really made me laugh.
The bit in that scene that makes it for me, though, is that it pops up of a photo of 5 boys, and he explains that his grandfather married a Scottish woman. She never learnt a word of Italian, and then this photo of 5 boys popped up, and she goes, maybe she should have learnt the word no. Yeah. And it's like, which kind of, sets the tone of the film. But yeah, I thought that was a really nice scene setter. And Gavin, obviously, you see him in London being downtrodden, and then bumps into his uncle Salvatore, played by Richard Wilson, who obviously we didn't have on the last episode, but we covered him on the last episode. Again, he's only in the 2 scenes, really, but he's brilliant in this, and just dripping, he delivers a beautiful line, because he's down in London for the Ice Cream Awards, and he says, we never win. The only thing I leave the hotel with is the towels. And
I don't believe this. What are you doing in London?
Flying visit. Hopped the Big Bird yesterday. It was the awards last night. Unusual display of naked ambition.
Right, the Academy of Ice Cream Traders Awards.
The excuse for a piss up in the night in a flashy hotel. Everyone bitching about the winners. It's time they all grew up and realised that awards mean absolutely nothing. We've been nominated 4 times now,
Yeah?
Never won a wafer. I'll ever leave that hotel with his towels.
Such a wonderful line. It's the way Wilson delivers it. It's like we discussed when we did Tutti Frutti in the last episode. Yeah. When he's like, Miss Tora, you'll be getting your jotters. Yeah. But he's just the way he delivers the line of, all I leave the hotel with is the towels.
I know. What's her name? Glynis. Glynis! It's Glenda! Yeah, he's really good. And, I was thinking to myself, watching that, I've not seen Richard Wilson in anything new for a long time, and I thought, has he maybe passed away? And I've not realised, but he hasn't. I think he's just, I don't know if he's just sort of slowing down a wee bit, because he's a good age now.
I mean, I was looking him up on IMDb last week and for this as well, and his last entry was last year. He was on Ant-Man Dick's Saturday Night Takeaway. Yeah. So Yeah, I think he's just slowed down. And I think, obviously, it's difficult for him in a way, probably, because he had such an iconic role for so long.
Yeah.
And I think it's difficult for anyone to see him as anyone apart from Victor Meldrew nowadays.
He used to be on a sitcom that I used to like when I was really young, like a kid, called Only When I Laugh. James Bolam in it, and it was set on a sort of men's ward of a hospital, and like James Bolam played a sort of malingerer, and Richard Wilson played the doctor, or one of the doctors. I used to really like it. I used to really enjoy Only When I Laugh. It had a really good theme tune as well.
I remember that. I do vaguely remember that, and I think I'm going to end up going and watching that because I love James Bolam.
Yeah, me too.
I do remember watching that when I was younger.
Yeah,
I'm definitely going to revisit that. But I think he's not afraid to, make fun of himself. I think famously the episode of Father Ted that he's in playing himself is fantastic. And, it's just set up perfectly when Dougal's like, oh, go on, he'd love it. Go on. I bet no one ever says it to him.
That's right.
It's like, just goes fucking mental at Ted.
Well, but the thing is, so when he did this, he was a couple of years into his time as Victor Meldrew. So, and as you said, he's only in like 2 pretty quick scenes, and one of the scenes we don't even hear him talk. He's it's just the music over the top of everyone talking to each other. So I thought to myself, well, has he done it as a sort of favour for Peter Capaldi? Did they maybe know each other and stuff like that? And he said, yeah, I'll come and do a couple of days on your film.
Probably, I'd imagine so. And he delivers a wonderful line when they're having the dinner, and he's trying to convince him to obviously come up for his dad's 60th birthday. When he speaks about selling the family business and having this inheritance money, and he's like, I'm the oldest now. I'm the capo.
Yeah.
And I just love the kind of Italian mafia reference there. It's like, okay, I guess it never leaves you. Although you were born in Scotland and raised in Scotland, but still has the I'm the capo, which I think was great.
Yeah.
And of course, the other main character in the film is Yvonne, played by Elaine Collins, who went on to become Capaldi's wife.
No, they were married already. It says on his wiki they got married.
They were married.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they got married in 91. This came out in 92.
Yeah.
A couple of stuff I've read is that his future wife. So I don't know if maybe they filmed this.
Maybe.
Or he'd maybe written this before. Like, obviously he would have written this before they got married. But yeah, his wife. And she's great. I mean, she hasn't got a huge amount of acting credits, but she is great as Yvonne, and a wonderful, not foil, but love interest for Gavin, and kind of puts him right. And her acting can maybe a little bit wooden at times, I would say, but she's an intriguing character. And, after about 20 minutes of meeting her, you find out she's got this envelope full of money.
Yeah.
So you're instantly intrigued, thinking, what's her story?
Yeah.
It's like, there has to be a backstory with her. We know Gavin's backstory, like we know all about Gavin, but we don't know anything about Yvonne. And I think they do that really well in terms of you want to know what's going on with her and what her story is. Because she keeps mentioning this guy Archie and like, who's he? But I thought they did that pretty well.
There's something really familiar about her as Yvonne. You know what I mean? I think she, I don't know. She's a wee bit wooden, I suppose, here and there, but it feels quite honest. I wonder if there's a lot of acting required, really, if that's just the sort of person she is. Perhaps that because she sort of starts off like she doesn't. Like almost like she's quite naive, and she believes, because Gavin does. So she fixes Gavin's car, and he originally is just going to leave her on the road, but then decides to take her along. But she seems to like just completely buy his stories about how he's just spoken to his mother and he needs, and all this kind of thing. But then later on, she sort of calls him out, and she sort of. You kind of get the feeling that, well, maybe she wasn't that naive in the beginning. You know what I mean? Maybe she could see exactly what he was like, but then she starts to get a bit annoyed with him later on, and sort of calls him out for his behaviour. Do you know who I would have loved? You know who I made a note here. Who I would have loved to have seen in the role of Yvonne. Grogan.
Who's that?
Grogan.
Yeah. Yeah. 92. She would have been. What? Yeah, she'd have been in her early 30s.
Yeah, I think so. She'd been old enough to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she would have been fantastic, actually. You're right. Not taking anything away from Elaine Collins, of course. But yeah, you're right. Grogan would have been fantastic in that role. That would have made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Wow. And then that would have given another Bill Forsyth link. So, wonder if they tried to get Grogan. Well, no, Capaldi, obviously, he wrote it, so he would have been like adamant, like, no, my wife, future wife, has to star in this. So, but you're right, Grogan would have been fantastic. You're just saying that because you listened to Grogan recently.
Yeah, that's true.
And fell in love with her all over again.
Yeah,
on the Rock and Tours podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'd enjoyed the Rock and Tours podcast a lot more if that fucking Guy Pratt wasn't on it. Gary, honestly, just tries to be funny and all that, and he's just not funny. What was Grogan doing then in 92? Was she doing Red Dwarf in 92, or was that before? She was Kowalski in Red Dwarf, wasn't she, for a while?
Yeah, it would have been about that time, I think. Kachansky,
Kachansky, not Kowalski.
Yeah, would have been about that time, I think.
Yeah, I was listening to some Altered Images this week after listening to the podcast. They were a good band, Altered Images. You know, it wasn't just Happy Birthday and I Could Be Happy.
Happy Birthday.
Yeah, they got some good stuff on their albums, so they did.
But yeah, I think like Elaine Collins does bring a lot to the role. Like there are like sweet moments in the car. The travel suites versus normal suites discussion is brilliant.
I don't know why they call these travel suites. They're identical to ordinary suites. I don't suppose anybody would buy suites called ordinary suites. Ordinary suites sound more reliable, don't you think? Travel suites sound like you could open the tin one day and find out they'd all moved on.
And it's true. Like, you still get travel suites.
Yeah,
like that. I think you do. In terms of, if you go to like a petrol station, you'll find travel suites. But yeah, what is the difference? But then you don't call them normal suites. But that's the kind of ridiculous conversations you would have in the car, and the awkward kind of conversations. And it just works and makes sense. And is all fine.
My late grandfather always had a tin of travel sweets in the glove box of his Lada Riva, always. And they were always like the hard-boiled ones that had sort of ice and sugar. Well, it probably wouldn't have been ice and sugar, but it's the same sort of texture as ice and suge, so your tips would be all white and stuff. But they would
I know what you mean.
They'd always be in there. Have you ever picked up a hitchhiker before?
No, never. I would never do that.
No?
Not a chance. What about you?
I remember when I lived in Barrow-in-Furness, my dad used to come down and pick me up, and we'd drive back up to Glasgow up the M6 and M74. We'd often see people hitchhiking, and the only one I ever remember my dad picking up was a Navy. He was a sailor, I guess. He was in his uniform, and my dad said, "Oh, we'll pick him up because he's in his uniform and blah blah blah." And we didn't take him very far. I think he just wanted to go to the next junction or something. But he gave me a button. The sailor guy that I think I've still got somewhere to sort of say thanks for picking him up. So he's sort of young guy, do you know what I mean? But really smart. But yeah, that's the only time I ever remember us picking up a hitchhiker. My dad was always, if there's two of you in the car, never pick up a hitchhiker because we've got to sit in the back and you don't know what they could be doing behind you. But if you're by yourself, just make sure they sit in the passenger seat. It's like, okay, Dad.
Yeah, I think Rutger Hauer probably put me off ever picking up a hitchhiker for life.
It's fucking such a good film, that. Such a good film.
Yeah. I might watch that tonight, actually. It's such a good film. And then service stations. It's a wonderful scene where Gavin is horrified that he's paying £7.20 for sausage and chips. And of course, this is back in 1992. That's extortionate for sausage and chips. But then service stations always charge ridiculous prices.
You're a captive audience, isn't it?
I mean, you used to drive a fair bit, didn't you? Like up and down the motorway. So have you got any service station memories?
Well, the one thing that I always made sure of was that I would never have to stop at a motorway services to put petrol in my car. But I became pretty familiar with almost every service station between Glasgow and Birmingham at one point when I was driving around a lot. But what I would tend to do is I knew that Southwaite services, which is not too far from the Scottish border, always had, on the English side of the Scottish border, they had a Greggs. So I would stop, and I would always, because I don't want to hang around, you know what I mean? So I'd stop and go for a quick piss, and then I would buy like a sandwich from Greggs that I could just eat as I was driving. You know what I mean? So I'd get home and my lap would be fucking covered in crumbs and everything. But yeah, they're mercenary bastards. I remember being in one, and somebody had I guess the company had put a poster up saying, if you find anything, or if you find these services less than hygienic or spotless or whatever, please call the area manager. And then they had the area manager's mobile number on the poster. And I thought, fuck that, you know, because you get people phoning you all the time.
That's a phone you're never going to answer. You're just going to leave that on the side. You're never answering that phone. Fucking hell. So obviously we have Wilson, Collins, Capaldi, but then there's so many amazing actors in small parts throughout the film, and just like, it's not a cameo, they do have lines in small parts, like Simon Callow, Phyllis Logan, Francis Barber, Anne Scott Jones, and Clive Russell, like amongst many others, and all just brilliant little comedic parts. I mean, especially Phyllis Logan and Anne Scott Jones, they both were just phenomenal, and Clive Russell. In fact, they were all brilliant. Simon Callow is fantastic as Eddie Jakowski, this guy whose credit card they find, and just the reveal he was like married to this, or partner, because I guess he wouldn't have been married because gay marriage wasn't allowed back then, but you know, his partner was this guy that did balloon animals called, was it Mr. Pickles?
Yeah.
And like, it just, again, very Bill Forsyth-esque. These little random just characters that just have like a 2-minute scene, but are almost unforgettable. Like Phyllis Logan delivers one of the best lines of the film when she's talking about, and a serious subject, she's talking about how she suffered from depression.
Yeah.
And when she says, I used to work in a baby shop, sometimes I wanted to punch the wee bastards.
Well, you know, things would really get me down. I used to work in this baby wear shop. Sometimes I'd really want to punch the wee bastards right in the face. So, obviously I had to sort that one out.
Excuse me, would you deliver the car?
Of course, sir. It's a privilege of account holders. All part of the service. Here, I have a brochure.
No, I don't mean that. I mean, will you deliver it?
Not me, personally, sir. But I'll make sure it's done. I'm hardly likely to forget you now, am I, Gareth?
Gavin.
Yeah, she's really good. I've got a bit of a problem with Simon Callow.
Okay.
So an old boss of mine used to work in a hotel, like quite a nice hotel years ago, and apparently he was a guest there once, and he was, according to her, he was an absolute cunt to all the staff.
Oh, really?
And apparently he left his room in a right mess. Like, sort of like, I won't go into the detail in case he listens and he basically takes a libel case out against us in case it's not true. But yeah, she said he was...
Did he shit in the bath?
Not the bath.
Oh, for fuck's sake, I was like... but I'm presuming not the toilet either.
No. Well, maybe not. Maybe it might not have been him. It might have been his companion, perhaps. I don't know. But yeah, I don't. But then this is like
sick.
I just got to say that I don't know if that's true. It might not be true. But she told us about it one night. We were having a glass of wine after work. But like for Simon Callow, this was like a year before Four Weddings and a Funeral, which arguably, like a lot of those actors, like John Hannah, even Hugh Grant, you know, like all those actors all sort of launched fairly successful to varying degrees careers off the back of it. And like when I saw Simon Callow's name in the credits, I thought he would be in it a lot more. Well, when I saw Richard Wilson's name in the credits, I thought he'd be in it a lot more as well. I didn't realise that it would just be like a fairly quick scene.
He's on the cover of the DVD. Like, it's, you know, it's quite I think he's the third credited cast member of Richard Wilson. So you think, okay, but I guess it's probably because One Foot in the Grave was on at the time and he was...
It was a draw.
A big... Yeah, I can only imagine that. But you're right, Simon Callow, Four Weddings did really make a lot. John Hannah, we need to do more with John Hannah. on the Swally, because he's great.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
Like John Hannah. I always remember, how do you feel about, I mean, it's not Scottish, but how do you feel about Four Weddings and a Funeral?
I like it. I remember, I saw it because when I was at school in Aberdeenshire, they used to do, just before the summer holidays, they did these activities days, and it was, some things were like hanging about at school, just doing bits and bobs, or depending on what you could go, there was a couple of like overnight trips. And I managed to persuade my mum to let me go on the Glasgow trip, which was mental because I was going to Glasgow like the following week. But it was me, my friend Barry Willocks, my friend James White, and my friend David Henderson, and the rest of the people on the trip were girls. So it was just us 4 boys and all these girls. I mean, I would love to tell you it was like carry-on school trips. It wasn't. Like, nobody got a sniff. But
no smelly fingers.
But it was good fun. But they took us to see Four Weddings and a Funeral the second night. And then, because we would have been about maybe 16, 17. And obviously the first word in Four Weddings and a Funeral is fuck.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh. And then there's like the sort of sex scene when Hugh Grant's hiding under the bed, and the guy off the Thin Blue Line is it's like they're like shagging. But yeah, no, I like it. It's sort of like this in a way, I know that it was a bit of a phenomenon at the time with the Wet 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 song and everything else, but it's a bit like this film in that it's, it sort of works out well. There's some funny moments. The characters are all likeable. Even the ones that you're not really supposed to like are likeable, and you sort of want everything to work out for them. So, yeah. How do you feel about Four Weddings and a Funeral?
I will never forget that film as long as I live, for the pure reason that it came out, it was the summer of 94. And the reason I remember this is very specific, because I would have only been 13 at the time. And my mum, my sister and I, and my sister's like 13 years older than me, so she'd have been like 26. It was a Saturday night, and we went to the Odeon.
Oh, yeah.
On the corner of Holborn Street. And Milbury. Justice
Melbury.
Lane, I think, to watch Four Weddings. Got our tickets, and then we're walking in, and the female usher, who was like in her 40s, stopped us and went, "How old's the boy?" And my mum went, "Nearly 15. Like, I'm like, why? Why would you say that? So we didn't get in.
Oh.
We had to go, and because obviously she told her nearly 15, so I wasn't 15, so I didn't get in to see it. So we ended up like going home. But then I always remember that night because I went home and it was World Cup. That's why I remember it was the summer, because it was USA 94.
Yeah, sure.
And I came home upset that I didn't get to go and see the film. I feel bad, being I'm only 13. And it was Argentina against Nigeria, and that was the game that Maradona scored those goals and then ran up to the camera with fucking Coke bogeys in his nostrils, screaming at the camera. I remember watching that. I'll always remember that day as long as I live. So yeah, I didn't get to see it until later on, and yeah, I'm not a fan of kind of romantic comedies in a way, although we're speaking about one technically in a way, but I don't mind Four Weddings and a Funeral, actually. It's quite a good film. It's funny, it's clever, it has its moments, but yeah, I don't want to, it's better than Notting Hill or Love Actually or any of that shite, but don't mind Four Weddings.
My dad, did exactly the same thing when him and I went to see Look Who's Talking, because Look Who's Talking was a 12, and when we were buying the tickets, the guy selling the tickets said, how old is he? And my dad said, he's nearly 12. And the guy said, well, he's got to be 12 to, it's a 12 film, he's got to be 12 to see it. My dad said, well, he's 12 then. And the guy just sold us the tickets. And we went in and watched it.
We've often spoken about the fucking Jedi powers your dad had. I can imagine that. I'll just never forget my mum. Nearly 15. Oh, yeah, well, he's not 15. Fuck off. Anyway.
I was trying to sort of work out the geography on the journey. Because they stop at the seaside. Where they meet Simon Callow's character is the seaside. But if you're driving from London to Glasgow, you're going to go probably M1, A1, Scotch Corner, M74, or unless you go up the about the services that he stops at, where he gets fucking ripped off for the sausage and chips is obviously Birmingham, because they're all talking with sort of Brummie accents, which would suggest that he's gone up the M6. So if he's gone up the M6, you know, you would go through the Lake District, but you don't go by the sea. You're sort of right in the middle of the country, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think much of the geography makes sense in this film, to be honest. There are quite a few points where you're kind of like, where are they meant to be? But yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But don't think too much of it, mate. Just enjoy.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's lovely scenery, I have to say. Very nice.
I mean, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Like, there's genuinely, to give away, like, when we're recording this, last night I watched, it was the season finale of The Traitors, which is a BBC show, and it's set in Scotland. It's in the Scottish Highlands. I came home after my day and watched the finale because it was a final episode and I had to watch it because I knew I wanted to check the newspapers this morning to see if there was any new news stories. And I'm like, I'm going to find out who's won it if I don't. So I fucking stayed up until fucking 2:30 this morning watching The Traitors. Fucking shattered today. And there was a scene where, like, and they make it look so beautiful, and because it's set in this big Scottish castle, and Claudia Winkleman comes in this helicopter and she's like, I just want to it's the finale, so you're going to go in style and you are going to go in this helicopter and just take a swoop around probably the most beautiful place on earth, the Scottish Highlands. And they swoop round, and like they did, you know, there was so much like stags and Highland cows and owls and stuff, and you're like, fucking hell, it really is probably one of the most beautiful places on earth.
Oh,
it's just incredible.
Undoubtedly. You know that Alan Cumming is hosting the American version of The Traitors?
I do know that, yes. I haven't watched it because I'm kind of a bit, I don't know. I've heard it's quite good though. I mean,
they get too emotional, the Americans, in these things, don't they? That's the problem.
Yeah, that's what puts me off. And plus, I think the American version that has like it's a mix of like normal people and some like reality show people. And I don't want that. I just want to watch normal people fuck it up and abuse. And honestly, the finale of The Traitors. If you watch The Traitors,
no, and the reason I've not watched it is because I think it's something that we might enjoy as a family. And now that my daughters are teenagers, sort of pinning everybody down at the same place is getting harder and harder. You know,
it's genuinely it is incredible television. Like, it is incredible. Like, I know I like reality shows, and I don't like reality shows. You know, I watch like Big Brother and stuff. The Traitors is phenomenal because it's so fucking. You're shouting at the screen because people are just being so fucking devious and lying to people's faces. And I won't spoil the ending of season 2, but it was fucking hell. It was, oh my God, it was amazing.
Okay.
Kevin in the back of the truck, who is transcendental, and I'm going to liberate your waistcoat. What was going on with Kevin there, do you think? And what was going on with that whole scene with the truck?
I mean, that was kind of weird. That's Billy McCall, who we've had on the pod before, famously Phil McCann in Slab Boys.
Yes.
I'm not sure obviously they're sort of two guys that are on a bit of an adventure, you know, involving hunters of booze and drugs and stealing cars and all sorts.
It was nice to see him though, because he hasn't done a huge amount, so it was nice to see him back again so soon on the podcast. But yeah, what a mental scene, but also didn't take me out of my that would never happen. Like, I totally invested in. Yeah, that is pretty much the kind of thing that I could see happening. Like, yeah,
it's fine.
And that's what I love about this film. Like, it's completely just realistic, and there's not a single thing that happens in this film apart from maybe the credit card in the phone box with the chewing gum, you know, being stuck to your shoe. But other than that, there's nothing else that I'm like, that would never happen. Like, it just all made sense.
Well, the thing is, you're sort of, you know, Capaldi has created a bit of a world in the same way that Bill Forsyth sort of creates this kind of world, and it's kind of the world that we recognise, but with a real surreal sort of edge kind of running through it, and you kind of just accept it after a while. You know what I mean? It's like Gregory's girl with the wee penguin kind of just wandering around the school in the background every now and again, and or the mermaids in Local Hero. You know what I mean? You just sort of you just sort of accept it because, you know, you're invested. And I think that's the case here. Like, by the time we meet what their names, Kevin the Guru and Stevie, you're sort of like, yeah, because we've already met the really weird B&B guy. You know what I mean? Who's not interested until they tell him that he's got money, and the sort of dark. He sort of takes them in the dark up to the rooms with like a little lamp and stuff like that instead of putting the lights on and all that kind of thing. And he's just sort of like, yeah, I'm here for it, you know?
So is there, what's the sweetest scene in the film? Is it the slosh at breakfast, which is a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
And is up there with Morecambe and Wise doing the breakfast dance for me.
Yeah.
Just it's so beautiful in terms of just a lovely little scene.
Well, it's great because it's the first.
And so funny.
It's the first time that Gavin really sort of lets himself go a little bit. You know what I mean? Like he's incredibly uptight for most of the movie. It's particularly when he's with Yvonne, and then, you know, he finds a song on the radio that he likes and just sort of completely gives into it, you know?
I think it's because the evening before, obviously, they're in bed and he's tired and he just wants to go to sleep. And Yvonne's, you know, she says she's a bit nervous and she's talking about how life is like a bowling alley.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you're the ball, sometimes you're the skittle. And I think he's just so tired and exasperated. And I think he wakes up in the morning and maybe thinks about what he's done and feels guilty and goes down and just has fun for the first time that we've seen him have fun.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful scene, just doing the slosh around the breakfast table. It's beautiful.
Well, he also thinks that they're sort of sorted because he's expecting the car to be dropped off and all that, yes. And you know everything's, you know, the car's getting fixed. His uncle's sorting it out. It's going to get dropped off. Everything's fine. He's got a song on the radio that he likes. It's a great scene.
And obviously the car ends up going to Uncle Salvatore back in Glasgow, but they manage to get to the bus station. They get a ticket. Well, they don't get a ticket for the bus, but they run on the bus. And then the reveal that the bus is going to London is hilarious because it's such a lovely scene that they get on the bus, they think everything's sorted. Gavin's so relaxed, he's making faces at the kids and he's smiling at everyone. He's like, I'm going to make it. And then when the realization comes over his face and he runs up, that is absolute fantastic comic timing of the audience don't know. You're like, what's going on? And then you just see the front of the bus that says London. And it's so beautiful in terms of comedic timing that I was just in stitches when I realized. But also feeling like, oh, fuck. How are they going to get back now? And that's a wonderful part, I think, of this film and the way it's been directed and the way it's been written, that you're laughing, but you're also in kind of feeling sorry for the characters and like not in peril, but you know what I mean? Like kind of feeling like, oh shit, how are they going to get out of this?
I mean, like a road movie done well, like this one, is a joy. You know what I mean? Like, obviously there's some really famous ones like Thelma and Louise, probably the most famous sort of road movie. But, you know, when they're done well.
Easy Rider as well,
or Vanishing Point, you know.
The Road.
The roads, but when they're done well, they're fucking
Road to Perdition.
Yep, Road Trip.
Roadhouse.
That's not a road movie.
Okay, should be. Yeah, you're right. It does. And I think that is what the interview I watched with Capaldi, he did say he kind of wanted to make the great American road movie, but set in the UK.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because the UK is such a small isle. I mean, Christ, you've driven to Norwich. Like, it takes like 8-9 hours. Well, it took a lot longer with our mutual friend driving fired on Red Bull.
Because we fucked it.
But it takes probably, like, if you go from one end to the other, it probably takes you, 12, 13 hours to drive from, like, end to end.
Yeah, I mean,
the UK.
It's only like 500 and something miles, something like that.
And I would walk 500 more. Whereas the US, it takes like 2 weeks to cross that.
Yeah.
So, but he wanted to make like a great British road movie, and I think he
does
kind of succeeded. Like it does, it works. Like it is good. Like I really enjoyed it. And I mean, the ending, obviously he turns up at the birthday party, 7:30 on the dot. And then he's gone because he's gone back to find Yvonne because obviously they've had a falling out.
Yeah.
That end speech that he delivers on the bridge is so beautiful.
Yeah.
When he's, you make me feel mental.
Yeah.
And then you make me feel everything. That's, I'll be 43 next month. I'm getting old. I'm getting fucking soppy in my old age. That had me in bits.
Oh, really?
You make me feel everything.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
You don't sound very sorry.
Oh, stop doing this.
Doing what?
Winding me up.
I'm not.
Yeah, you always get me into a state.
I don't.
You do. You make me feel guilty. You make me feel bad and happy and exasperated and think, I don't know what I am with myself anymore. You make me feel mental.
I'm not making you feel anything.
You make me feel everything.
I feel a bit like that.
You feel like that? About me?
Yeah, it's great. And again, I don't know, I've never really understood why Capaldi isn't up there in terms of profile and filmography and everything as a Ewan McGregor or a James McAvoy. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he just came along at the sort of wrong time because, British film when he was a young actor was, it was sort of Chariots of Fire and Local Hero and, in terms of like international successful films, there wasn't like a great deal. And then, obviously Danny Boyle has launched Ewan McGregor's career with Shallow Grave and Trainspotting, and James McAvoy, don't know, he seemed to go from being like the co-lead on Shameless to like an international film star. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
He was in Early Doors first. That is one of the best sitcoms of all time.
Yeah.
Early Doors. But yeah, then he went Shameless, and then he left to, exactly as you said, basically become an international film star.
One minute he's in Shameless, the next minute he's in that Wanted with fucking Angelina Jolie and Morgan Freeman. Wait, how did that happen?
I think it's about timing though, mate. Like if you look at, what we've covered, I mean, that's what this podcast is about.
Yeah.
And if you think about the stuff we've covered, we did have like a kind of decent filmography, probably due to Bill Forsyth in terms of things like Comfort and Joy, Local Hero. But Scottish cinema, I mean, look at this. It was 1992. Like it wasn't a big film.
No, I think it made £250,000. That was its box office.
Yeah.
And it was only released in the UK.
I mean, British cinema was pretty much dead until
Four Weddings
and a Funeral, which was 94. And then Scottish cinema didn't really explode. It exploded with Trainspotting, but I think let's be honest, the fucking rocket up the arse was Shallow Grave.
Yeah, for sure.
That really started things. And since then, Scottish cinema has thrived. But I think if you look at the stuff we've covered, there was quite a fallow period in that time. And I think Capaldi probably suffered from that in terms of right actor, wrong time. Okay, let's face it, he was never going to be a Ewan McGregor or James McAvoy. They are two very handsome men. Capaldi, as much as I love him, he's not the handsomest of bastards, but he has this just amazing rugged look and, weather beaten. And he's very handsome in this film. But he's never going to get those parts. You're never going to... I do believe him in this film that he wins the lady, but you know what I mean? I'm never going to believe him in a kind of, nice, romantic kind of character guy. But he found his niche, in terms of just acerbic kind of wit and just...
He's got... I think he's...
amazing character, and I'd rather have him as Malcolm Tucker and Doctor Who and as Dr. Pete in Field of Blood than have him being some mega movie star. And I reckon he's pretty fucking happy with what he's done.
I mean, if you I'm looking at his IMDb now, so his first credit is something called Living Apart Together. His second credit is Local Hero. Do you know what I mean? And then there's stuff like he's in an episode of Minder. He plays George Harrison in a film called John and Yoko, a love story. He's in The Lair of the White Worm, which is a fucking mental Ken Russell film. He's in Ramsey Nesbitt. He's in Dramarama, Ruth Rendell, Poirot. He's then this film. He's in the comic strip Prime Suspect 3, where he plays a transvestite. But he's in all sorts, like the Mr. Bean, that Psychos that we'll have to do at some point. I think Psychos. So I think it's a Scottish production, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. It's set now. psychiatric ward of a Glasgow hospital. You know, so he's sort of built this career just sort of hustling and chipping away, and then to your point, he gets the thick of it, and suddenly everybody knows who Peter Capaldi is. And I think we were talking about our favourite Malcolm Tucker moments. I think my favourite, and I can't remember the episode, but there's been some drama that he has managed to resolve, and he's walking out of the office and he says, right, I'm away home. He says, right, I'm away home to wipe my arse with pictures of Nick Robinson. I'm getting good. He turns and says, I'm getting good at giving him a quiff. It's really funny.
Oh, fantastic! Oh, wow!
But it's really been since Malcolm Tucker that suddenly these Hollywood films. You know, he was in that World War Z, the Brad Pitt zombie one, Paddington. He was in the Suicide Squad, which was a great film as the thinker. You know,
it's amazing that just one role can just change your career.
Oh, yeah.
And for it to be a role which was on like a small BBC show.
Yeah.
You know, think of it as much like The Office. Like, I think it was the way it was filmed, and I don't think people expected it to take off as much as it did.
Yeah.
And it did. And I don't think even probably Capaldi expected Malcolm Tucker to come off the way he is. And I think Malcolm Tucker now is a word that people would use in terms of even speaking about like a spin doctor, something like, he's done a Malcolm Tucker on him there.
Yeah.
It's, you know, Malcolm Tucker has entered the lexicon of kind of words and should be in the dictionary, maybe.
Maybe.
Malcolm Tucker will be forever Capaldi's legacy, even I would say more than Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
I mean, you could argue if not for say Malcolm Tucker, he might not have got Doctor Who. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably not.
You know, and I remember when they did the reveal, like Zoe Ball one Sunday afternoon we're going to introduce the next Doctor, and when I saw it was him, I was like, yes. Because I knew Christopher Eccleston because I knew him from Shallow Grave and Our Friends in the North and other things. I didn't know David Tennant really. There was nothing that I'd seen him in where he'd stuck in my mind, so I had no idea who he was. No idea who Matt Smith was at all. No. And I actually quite like Matt Smith. He's quite a good Doctor, and I like him as an actor. He's a good actor, Matt Smith. But yeah, like when it was Capaldi, I remember just going, yes. You know what I mean? Because all the last like two Doctors had been these sort of young guys, and here's Capaldi, a middle-aged man, which pretty much all the Doctors before Peter Davison were like middle-aged sort of eccentric sort of guys, and it really felt like a sort of return to that kind of thing, and it was, and one of the best things about if you were to go and watch Capaldi's run as Doctor Who is you get to see a lot of Jenna Coleman. Maybe not the bits that you want to see of her, but you get to see. But she's his companion.
Right, I am definitely going to go back and revisit Capaldi as Doctor Who. Then that's big fan, Gemma Coleman. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on Soft Top Hard Shoulder?
Only one thing, right? In my notes, I've written the word queer hawk, right? And
okay.
Obviously,
sorry for laughing at that.
Obviously, because somebody has said that in the film, and I can't remember who said it, but I remember thinking, I've not heard that word for fucking ages. Queer hawk.
Yeah, I do. I can't remember, but I do remember it being mentioned in the film, and I can't remember why. The other thing to get us out of trouble, is do you love that every company or slogan that you see has "We Care" after it? Which is very much a kind of reminds me of like a Orwellian kind of 1984, like almost homage. But I like that literally every company just has "We Care" as their slogan.
Yeah, for sure. So is it time to put Soft Top Hard Shoulder through the Swally Awards?
Let's do it, Greg. What have we got first? Because actually there's quite a few awards that I don't really have anything for.
Yeah.
Which will shock you because,
normally you find something. No, I know you're right. But there's a couple that we can't. It's probably not anything. But the first one then is the Bobby the Barman Award for the best pub. So there's not really, the only place I could find that's like a pub is where he runs into his uncle Salvatore.
Yeah, well, that's a coffee shop
that serves booze.
Do go. Yeah, but I think they go. It's a different location. I think they run into each other in the coffee shop, and then they go to an Italian restaurant.
Oh, all right. I thought
where they have booze.
Okay.
I don't think it's the same place because it looks like a different kind of setting. But yeah, that was what I had, or service stations. But you can't really get booze. I'm sure you can from the garage.
You can now. But you couldn't then.
Something, but probably not then.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I went with because there's no actual pubs.
No. The next award then is one that I think there's a few candidates for. The James Cosmo Award for being in everything Scottish.
What did you go for this?
I went for Clive Russell.
Okay.
How about yourself?
I had a double-edged bet. I went with Anne Scott Jones or Phyllis Logan.
Okay.
But Clive Russell was also on my list as well. It was between the three. So I think we could pick. Maybe Phyllis Logan has maybe done a little bit more English stuff. Yeah. So Anne Scott Jones, though, has been a hell of a lot. But Clive Russell as well.
Yeah.
And I always get Clive Russell mixed up. Instantly, I was like, that's Ian McCall. Yeah. And then I'm like, no, it's Clive Russell. Yeah. I don't know why. It was too mixed up. They look so similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, Clive Russell's a good shout. But yeah, Anne Scott Jones would probably be my first shout for that.
Okay. Next then, so I think this is the first one that we can't really do, and that's the Jake McQuillan Award, the T-Zoot Award, because nobody gets their teeth taken out.
There's nothing. I mean, I kind of put the Red Beetle driving them off the road, if that makes sense. Like Gavin kind of gets his comeuppance because he's trying to race, but it's not really a teaser, and there's no violence. Like the only other thing is when he's chasing Yvonne and trips her over, and then the wedding dress spills out. But other than that, there's no violence. So I don't think there's a teaser in this.
No, I don't think there is. In the next one, I don't think there is either. The Hugh McGregor Award for gratuitous nudity.
No nudity. So no.
Next one I think we kind of gave away at the beginning, but the Francis Begbie Award for gratuitous swearing, I had him telling the animal rights charity collector to fuck off after he's been rejected by the publishing company.
It's just so unexpected, and it's just the best use of swearing. I laughed so much, and it's only the way Capaldi can deliver a fuck off, as we know so well with Tucker. But it's just animal rights, fuck off. Yeah. It's beautifully done and is absolutely the best use of swearing. And there's not a lot of swearing in this. There's a couple of bastards and stuff, but that is without a doubt the winner.
Especially when he seems quite pragmatic about the rejection. He's sort of, well, thanks very much, blah, blah, blah. But then we realise that he's actually incandescent.
It's fucking raging. Yeah, of course.
Okay, next one then is archetypal Scottish moment. So what did you go for here?
So I originally put the slosh, but then
I thought you may have gone for the slosh.
It's Scottish, but it originated in Wigan. So is it really Scottish?
No.
So I went with the absolute sheer joy both of them have.
Crossing the border.
When they're crossing the border and you see the Welcome to Scotland sign. That is, every time I would do that, I'd reach a cheer.
Yeah.
Like, I'm back home. And that is, without a doubt, archetypal Scottish moment.
Yeah, me too. Exactly the same. Okay, and then the final award then is the Connery Award. Who won the film for you?
Richard Wilson for me. No, it's Capaldi, obviously. Yes. Of course it's Capaldi. It's Capaldi's film. He's written it, he's starring in it, and he's great in it. And yeah, it's Capaldi's film, so Capaldi has to win this.
Absolutely, yeah. And the thing is as well, he a couple of years later, he won the best short film Oscar for It's a Wonderful Life with Franz Kafka. I guess it just sort of demonstrates the fickle world of film. Because you would assume that you get an Oscar for the best short film, that there's a feature film in your near future. But who knows?
And that was also a recommendation from Strong Henry, who I guess is a Peter Capaldi fan.
I guess he is.
Maybe we'll do that at some point later on. On this.
I'm not sure we could do an hour on a short film, but maybe we could. I don't know.
We'll give it a bash. I think we could pretty much talk nonsense for a while. I think we could fill the time. Yeah. Okay, we'll maybe save it for during the summer when Cosmo's at the Heroes. Okay, so that was my choice of this week, Greg. Soft Top, Hard Shoulder. What are you picking next time on the Swally?
So I've gone for a horror film. For our next film, starring, I would love to say friend of the podcast, Florence Pugh, but she's got fucking no idea who we are. Ben Lloyd.
I wish she did.
Ben Lloyd Hughes, Celia Imrie, and the legend that is James Cosmo. 2018's Netflix movie Malevolent.
Okay, never seen it.
Never.
It rings a bell, but I've never seen it. So
yeah, I've never seen it either. It's directed by Icelandic director Olaf de Fleur Johansson. Looking forward to watching it. It sounds rather good. It's on Netflix, so it should be an easy one to find for us. And it's got Cosmo and Imrie in it, two of our favourite Scottish actors.
Wonderful. I will look forward to watching that then. I was going to say I'll watch that tonight, but I want to watch Hitcher. Yeah. But then Gladiators is on.
And you got to watch Only When I Laugh as well.
I'm going to have a busy couple of days. Okay. I need to edit this pod as well. Fuck. Okay, right. I better go. Okay, right. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to get in touch with us, you can. You can email us on cultureswally@gmail.com and send us any news stories from Scotland you think we would like and you'd like us to read out in the show, or send us any requests or recommendations and we will cover them on the podcast. You can follow us on the socials. We're on Insta at cultureswallypod. I think we're on Threads at Culture Swally Pod as well. And we are also on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Swally Pod. And Greg, we have a wonderful website as well, don't we?
We do. You can find us at cultureswally.com, where there is new content. You can come and read a 4-part blog feature where I discuss my 3 favourite Sean Connery performances. Come and give us some hits on the old website.
And I'm not just saying this because I'm biased, but I genuinely loved that blog. It really made me really happy to read that. So
thanks, mate.
I would recommend anyone to give that a read and enjoy. Right, well, that wraps up this episode of the show. So I guess I'll leave you to it, Greg.
I'll give you to it. And should we tell the listeners that we're going on tour? Kind of soon. We're going on tour. We're going to Brussels.
In fact, this episode will come out the day before we.
Yeah, it will. Yeah. Is that
this episode
8th of February? I think 9th of February it comes out.
This episode will come out. The day before we actually meet up in Brussels.
Yeah.
So Swally Boys are going on tour. We're having a couple of days in Brussels to tear shit up and enjoy. So be like a shit version of In Bruges.
Yeah.
But hopefully with less midgets and more drugs.
Yeah. Or less drugs and more midgets.
No, it'll be like a shit version of In Bruges, but we will have lots of fun. Yeah. So I guess because that's why we're banking this episode. Because you'll be away for that weekend. So I won't see you next time. I'll see you in Brussels. And then I'll see you next time on the Swally.
See you in Brussels.
Animal rights. Thank you. Oh, animal rights.
Fuck off.